We need it. Oxygen. It's why we breathe.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Small Biz Stories. And I am so excited. You know this. Every week I seem to be like more excited than the week before. Our guests are fabulous every week. But Jonathan Mast is an expert in AI, and his whole ethos is how can he help small business owners use AI, understand AI, apply AI, and not be afraid of AI. And you've got to check out his YouTube. We're just going to put that out there up front. Jonathan Mast, easy to spell his name. We don't even need to spell it for you. Go find him. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat a little bit today.
Well, you've got such a tremendous following online. All of these tips that you give, just for example, for our listeners and for our viewers, because we are doing this in
hmm
audio and in video formats, because that is the way of the world now. People want the choice. We like to give our audience tips up front. You just did a video that you posted, the 3 tools that folks need to get their feet wet with AI. Can you share that? Because it was such a powerful video for those who missed it.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. I'm not sure I remember everything I said in there as I do a lot of videos, but the
You do.
basics when I teach people about AI is what you need is you need to pick a tool to use, and the tool that you have is okay. In other words, if you're a Microsoft shop and you're using Copilot, that's fine. If you're using a Google shop and you're using Gemini, that's fine. If you've got ChatGPT, that's fine. What you don't need to do is you don't need to chase the perfect tool because it doesn't exist. And if you would happen to find it, I promise you by tomorrow there'd be a new update and it wouldn't be the perfect tool anymore. Things change so rapidly. What I love to help people understand is that whatever AI tool you have available will allow you to take such an incredible leap ahead of where you are today to save time, to make more money, to deliver more value to your audience. You don't need the perfect tool. You just need an AI tool, and whatever one you have is perfect. Generally, I recommend people start with 3. You're going to need one for basic AI. ChatGPT is great. That's 20 bucks a month. You can't beat it. You can start for free. You need a great AI search engine. I love Perplexity for that.
Oh,
Perplexity.ai. It's a
my favorite.
tremendous AI search engine. It's what I think Google should have done in search. And then my third one that I love is you need something to create imagery. In most cases, you don't need that, but pretty quickly you're going to start creating content probably, and you're going to go, wow, I need an image to go with that for a blog post, a social post, a memo, a presentation, you name it. And I happen to love using Midjourney. You can use ChatGPT to do that as well. But again, basically those 3 tools, what we call a large language model, a ChatGPT, you're going to need a search engine. I love Perplexity and an AI image tool. And I personally love Midjourney, but there's lots of options. Just pick one out of each category and you will literally be eons ahead of most of your competition.
Let's talk about that latter bit. So I recently read a study that 400 million people are actively using AI, ChatGPT, Perplexity, or some
hmm
variation thereof daily. So when we hear comments that, oh yeah, half the country isn't even using AI yet, I'm sitting here incredulous, scratching my head going, how can it be if there's that much daily usage that everybody's pounding all these chat GPTs, perplexities, who's not using it?
Well, it depends. I think I live in a bit of a bubble, so it's everybody that I know seems to be using it. But
Sure.
I also know the moment I step out of that bubble, I find out that, things that I think, well, everybody's doing this, aren't they? The answer is no, a lot of them aren't. The most recent study that I read literally said that, and again, it depends on how you define it. We know we can make statistics say anything, but when we say regular daily users, normally, when I see that, that means that they're asking, do you use it on a daily basis at least one time? Well, if you're only using ChatGPT once a day, I'm going to contend you're really not using it. You need to be using it as part of your workflows for virtually everything you do. And that can be both at work, that can be personal, it can be in relationships, you name it. I mean, it can be used in so many different ways. So I actually take a little issue with people and they go, well, we have 400 million daily users. Okay, you had 400 million people that loaded the app today. Did that mean they actually used it I don't know. I'm not behind it, so I don't know the studies. But I would say, based on seat of the pants, I really think that there's probably about 20% of the the country, North America, is using AI regularly, and about 80% of the people may have toyed with it once in a while. They may open it once in a while, but they're not using it and they're not leveraging it to amplify their skill and experience. And that's where I get excited.
I totally agree with that. I'll give you a relevant example since our podcast really focuses on an audience of small business
Hmm.
owners and entrepreneurs. I was recently at the New York City Small Biz Expo. It's one of the largest of the kind in the
Hmm.
country, 40 some thousand attendees. I mean, just, a bit of a gong show, although very, very well organized. But as far as like trying to find people, like, hey, where are you without cell phones?
I
Like,
bet.
where are you?
Yeah.
Wait, which station? Which booth number? You can't find people. That said, out of all of the folks that I met, and I met hundreds, took their business cards through speed networking or cross-linked, whatever
Yep.
else, how we got through to there to exchange the contact coordinates. I went through and over 60% are still using Gmail as their
Yeah.
business address. So when I do hear that people aren't using AI to their full potential in the business, I think, yeah, maybe, right?
Yeah. Well, you said, I mean, Gmail's been around forever, and doesn't every business owner know that we should, for $15 a month, I can have a branded email address that's going to instill so much more credibility. It's $180 a year. I mean, we spend far more than that on things that don't add credibility. So why people don't use it, I don't know. But yet, a decade or so after it's been available, there's still people not doing it. So I think it's a good analogy and a really good comparison.
That's why I wanted to bring it up that way. Now, let's talk about. I love having these discussions with AI. As I said, I was so excited that you agreed to be on our show. What is the weirdest thing you've done with AI?
The weirdest thing, boy, I don't know about that. I would say a couple things. One, I've used it to be to help me be a better medical advocate. In other words, when it comes to health, instead of just taking what the experts say and trusting it, I've actually used AI to analyze things and to take a look at things. Probably the weirdest one I ever did, and I don't know a lot about it, but it was funky and weird, and it actually made sense. I actually took a picture of my eye. There's a study in health called iridology, I believe it is, and you literally they look at your eye. So I took a picture of my eye and I uploaded it to ChatGPT and I said, act as an iridologist or whatever that was. I'd looked it up so I had the right word and give me an analysis of my health based upon that. And I got to tell you, it was amazingly accurate and helpful, literally just based upon the image that I took of my eye, using that practice of iridology and scanning it. Amazing. Now, more practical, but still a little bit weird for some people. We just went through Mother's Day and I had to write something for my wife because she's the best mother I know. She's the mother of her kids. I love her to death. But I'm not real good at that sappy stuff and that romantic stuff. In fact, my wife and I were just talking after being married for 20 some years. She says, I just had to learn you weren't the romantic type. It's just not me. But I went into ChatGPT and I said, it's Mother's Day. I really want to write something meaningful for my wife. I want to share some stories. I want to reflect on some of the things that we've experienced over our 23 years that we've been together. And I shared a lot of that. I mean, literally, I spent probably 10 minutes sharing different stories, talking about our children, our grandchildren. And I asked it to put together a letter for Mother's Day that I could give to my wife. And I did. Now, she knows me very well. She knows absolutely I use ChatGPT to help me do that. But I ended up with 4.5 pages that had her literally weeping at the end. Not because she was
Mhm.
upset, but because of how touching and how accurate it was. I basically planted the seed. I'm not a writer. I don't know how to write well. That's not me. It's not how God made me. But by sharing that and asking ChatGPT to help, I was able to create something that really impacted my wife. And, she literally pulled me back later and said, I didn't read it all of it at brunch. It's where she opened it because she goes, I started to cry and I didn't want to do that in front of everybody. So she did. She kind of put it away and she read it later that night. And she goes, and she says, I know you use ChatGPT, but you put a lot of work into that. I'm like, yeah, I did. And so there's so many things like that that we don't always think about.
Couple of things. One, when I hit that a lot of people think the prompt has to be short, like a Google query. Like Google runs out, you can only put so many characters and then it just
Yep.
truncates whatever you put in and search or find this or whatever. But with these AI engines and generative AI tools, you can have multi-page prompts to really guide it. To talk to us about that, what our small business owners should be thinking about when they're preparing their prompts.
Great question. If I want to throw one thing in, if that's all right,
Of
everybody that
course.
starts prompting thinks they need to buy a list of prompts. And while there can be some value in learning it, it's not an efficient way to use AI on a regular basis because I saw one the other day for 10,001 prompts. If I have a list of 10,001 prompts, first of all, they're all going to be junk. But if I then try to find one that fits my need, you know how much time that's going to take? What we need is frameworks. And so I teach a perfect prompting framework. It's 4 simple steps. Tell ChatGPT what type of expert it is, give it context, ask it your question, and end with this. Ask me any questions you have. You literally add that at the end of your prompt. When you do that, you can talk about virtually any topic that's on your mind. You can ask it virtually any question, and you're going to get an amazing response. Going back to your point though about short, this is not a Google search. We're talking about what they call large language models that have been trained on what they call natural language processing. And that means the best prompts you can probably give are when you turn on the transcription feature of your computer and you start talking into this and letting it transcribe it for you. Not the voice mode where it talks back to you. I'm too impatient. That's too slow. But literally where when I'm prompting it, I'm like, all right, here's what I'm looking for. Here's my background. Here's what I want. Here's what I'm looking for you to create. Please ask me any questions you have. When you do that and you just carry on a conversation, candidly, much like we would if we were collaborating on a project, you're going to get amazing
Right.
responses out of AI.
One thing you just mentioned, so I was just going to just do a quick snag on it, that using please and thank you is costing all of these generative AI tools hundreds of millions of dollars per year. Have you heard about that?
I have. I don't put a lot of credibility in it because, ChatGPT still throws 400 emojis in everything that I do that I don't want. And if they really cared, if it was really an issue, they wouldn't be throwing emojis and everything because virtually everybody I know tells it use less emojis, but it keeps using them. So I think it's as with most things that actually come out from OpenAI, I think there's a bit of truth in it, but I think it's largely for hype and for attraction and things like that. I don't put a lot of credibility in that one myself.
Do you advocate using polite language and tone when you're interacting with your generative AI tool of choice?
I recommend that people communicate with it as they would a coworker. So if you're polite, don't change, don't think too hard about it. Don't overcomplicate it. Literally speak to it as you would a coworker and treat it as you would somebody you were collaborating with on a project. It's not sentient, it's just programming. But if you treat it like that coworker and communicate it with it as that, the responses that you get will be so much better. So I happen to say please and thank you a lot, so I use that. I know other people don't, and that's okay. I don't really think it impacts the response you get, but I don't want us as users to overcomplicate the process and overthink it. And I do think that, especially as entrepreneurs and small business people, it's our tendency. We're like, okay, I want to do this just perfect. I want to do this just right. No, just do it. Messy AI is okay. It's not going to bite. It's not going to do anything dangerous. Just talk to it. And I think you'll be amazed at how much time you can save every single day.
And I think that just in the conversations I've had with other small business owners who are just starting to flex their muscles with respect to AI and trying to do a little learning in and around that, they are shy. They'll have one
Hmm.
interaction, so they'll ask one round in a prompt and ask something, whatever it is. Give me a suggestion on how I can better market my what, or how I can get more views on my YouTube, whatever it is, right? I've done those too, by the way. And and then you get one set of comments or a response, and you're like, I don't know. And then they leave it. But the whole thing
Hmm.
is that it has to be iterative. And I love that you're
Thank
adding
you.
that piece, right? That you're adding that piece. Ask me any questions you have. I'm not doing that. I would consider myself a heavy user of AI. I don't use it to write anything that I have to create. Like for
Hmm.
example, I'm an author in books. I don't do that. I
Sure.
don't want it to be an AI like book, but I always ask it for help. I'm in different business situations. How do I improve the tone? How do I take the emotion out
Hmm.
of it? How do I up level this to be more professional, more succinct, like in my email and a response or something that I'm sending? Those I do. And I love how it gives me the feedback. Here's one thing that threw me for a loop, and I'll share and have you react to this, Jonathan. I started using, ChatGPT before it sort of came out and hit, but then I kind of got tired.
Sure.
Then I heard about Perplexity. So I jumped
Love
onto
Perplexity.
Perplexity. Me too. And after about 8, 9 months of heavy, heavy use, I was brainstorming with it. And so I have this fake board of advisors, my Perplexity board of advisors. Be like this guy, be like that gal, and give
Yep.
me advice that you think that they would give me if they were my legit board, right? Asked and said, okay, da 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 da. How would I position this new service that I'm launching, whatever? And because I'm not doing an infomercial here, I'm not saying all that, but what it
Mhm.
came back with shocked me. And it said, Laurelyn, this is spot on with your tone, how you go to market, all of your background, and how you put thought leadership and how you have genuine like care and compassion for the
Mhm.
audience you're serving. And I was like, whoa, where did this come from? Right. And that's when I realized how much training had happened between it and I. And
Absolutely.
it's just it's just shifted the whole, I don't know, like our whole relationship now has changed.
Oh, I love it. I love you've got a board of advisors. It's one of the things I recommend every small business owner do. It can be lonely being a small business owner. We don't know who to talk to. And sometimes we just don't, literally, we don't know who to talk to. But with AI, I have multiple boards of advisors, not really board of directors, but board of advisors that I've put together. And ironically, I've put in dead people. I've put in fictional people and I've put in live people. And I had ChatGPT help me do that. I described me and described my business. I literally asked it to interview me for the purpose of putting together a board of advisors to help me in these areas of my business. And it came back and it gave me recommendations like, I think we should have Steve Jobs on your board. That would be somebody you'd want. Great. Well, guess what? ChatGPT knows tons of information about Steve Jobs. It can emulate Steve Jobs and what he was. We went through some others and it asked me, would you want to do fictional characters? And I'm like, I never thought of that, but yeah,
No,
that
me
why
neither.
not? And one of them I picked was Tony Stark from the movie Iron Man. Now, not because I love everything Tony did, but there were aspects to his personality, his tenacity, and his drive, and that I really liked. And so Tony Stark, or a impersonation of him, is one of the people on my board. And what's so cool when you ask it questions is you can literally say, Steve Jobs and Tony Stark, I want you to spar with this and tell me what we should do. And it will give you different responses based upon in all likelihood, how Steve Jobs and Tony Stark would respond. And again, as a small business owner, having that ability for 20 bucks a month to have access to that type of expertise that I can literally pick up my phone and talk to while I'm driving down the road is mind blowing.
It is. And I love the idea that you've just introduced here to me that I should have it interview me and say, well, who, have them help me assign
Hmm.
who the people should be on the board versus me. Like I sort of self-selected and thought, yeah, I want him. He's a great podcaster. He's this, he's that. He's a great person in thought leadership. He's da 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 da. I assembled my board. I'm going to flip this around and then go find out from my Gen AI who should be on my board after the interview. I love that twist. See, like that's why I
Great.
love these conversations and podcasts. You always learn something from the people you're
Yes.
talking to. It's got to have your ears open. So you're like, oh, wait, what? What can I learn? So to that end, I see a lot of folks going through small business accelerators, incubators,
Hmm.
or even business schools. Given the extensive body of work that you have online, Jonathan, with all of the tips and things that you've given and offered and shared, what do you think business schools and accelerators are either getting wrong or missing out on that they're not doing to provide this next generation of
Hmm.
entrepreneurs with the skills that they need? What do you think of all that?
I haven't really thought a lot about accelerators because in general I have a positive opinion. Most of those tend to be private or private public combinations. And so I have a little more confidence in them, admittedly, than I probably do in higher education. I'm not opposed to higher education. I'm a lifelong learner. I think we need to be doing it. But I do think that AI is going to dramatically change the way we look at higher education. If for no other reason, the fact that higher education cannot keep up with the changes that are happening. I sit on a board for a university, not the whole board, but their advisory board for their AI program. And I won't share who it is because it's not fair, but they have no clue what's going on. This is a big university. They have no clue because they can't think fast enough to keep up. the program that they want people to pay nearly $10,000 to go through with them literally is based on stuff from a year plus ago, because when they started writing it a year and a half ago, then it has to go through the approval process and then it's got to get scheduled. And I told them in a meeting the other day, I says, they're like, why are you not recommending us? And I'm like, because your program sucks. It's not worth the money. And they're like, but we're this university. And I'm like, I don't care who you are. You're not providing the value. So I think that AI is going to dramatically change that. The other thing that I'm so excited, and this is cross educational. I love this topic. So sorry, you gave me a soapbox and I'm stepping up on it. I it democratizes learning. It doesn't matter what side of the tracks you live on. Doesn't matter how much money your parents made anymore. Everybody virtually has one of these, no matter where you live, no matter where you're at socioeconomically. And if you have one of these, you can use AI to learn virtually anything you want. And that to me is what's so exciting, because no longer is it just, oh, I can't learn that. Now, do incubators and fast start things, do they have their value? Yeah, because we make personal connections at them. And there's still going to be value in university, because guess what? Laura Lynn, you and I were in a class together. We got to meet each other. We had a connection, and maybe we can do business down the road because we had that. Those personal connections matter, but I'm going to contend they're not going to matter to the hundreds of thousands of dollars that the universities want anymore, because there's the knowledge they're going to provide is going to be largely irrelevant, because it's all going to be right here. And let's face it, it's a lot easier to get here than it is to go off to college or go off to university. So I think we're going to see some major changes.
Well, since you are kind of interested in talking about this aspect of education in AI, you've probably seen the headlines recently. A student at a university to be unnamed is asking for their tuition back because they caught their professor using AI to generate notes for the class. What are your
Mhm.
thoughts on that?
Who
To your
cares what they
point of
use to
the,
generate notes if it was helpful? I'm a big believer in value. I pay for value. I have coaches that I pay for that I know use AI, and that's okay. I don't mind, because if they can share things with me that provide value, Laura Lynn, if you and I are in a mastermind and you're sharing experiences with me that help me learn, I couldn't care less if you used AI to help codify those and maybe get your thoughts together and put that in. Big deal. I don't care if it's valuable. My issue is the universities have a problem because they're telling the students that AI is evil. Don't use it, because they're afraid you're going to, and yet, yes, as you saw, the professors are using it and all that. You can't have your cake and eat it too. They got to pick a side, and they're on the wrong side, plain and simple.
so what do you think small business owners should do here? So you've suggested tools that they have a focus on as a search engine, as a image creator, and helping them, like you said, structure their content and move them forward. How do you help them get over the fear of AI? So the fears, there's two sides to that. There's the fear of AI is coming for my jobs and the great displacement has begun. And then there's the fear of I'm scared of learning new things, right? I'm an old dog. I don't want to learn any new tricks. Talk to us about how folks can navigate those aspects of fear.
I think the best way to navigate it is to simply to try it. Almost everybody I know that's fearful of AI hasn't tried it. They're concerned of what it could do or might do. It is not sentient. This is not the Terminator AI from the movies that we used to see when we were growing up. You're younger than
I
I am,
love
so you
that
may not
show.
remember those as well as I
Oh,
do.
no,
But they're
no. I was part of the Terminator Club in high school. We watched Terminator 1 100 times together in high school. So I am old.
you
I
know
just use
then,
really
yeah.
good face creams.
Well, that's kudos, but that is not the AI that we have. We have great predictive technology that is programmed very well and has tons of information. It's not going to bite, it's not going to hurt. I compared it the other day. I was talking to a group of businessmen in this case, not women. And I said, do you remember the first time you asked a girl out? You thought about it for days. You debated about the right words to use. You worried about what she was going to say. People are doing that same thing with AI. And just like asking a girl out to date, the worst thing that was going to happen is Laura Lynn, I'd say, hey, can we go out? And you're going to go, no, thanks. That was the worst. And you know what? You live through it. We learned that. AI isn't going to do that. AI is even nicer. It's going to just give you a nice response. It's never going to bite. It's never going to tell you to go do something that's going to cause you harm. It's not the way it's programmed. In many cases, there's filters that are going to annoy us because we're like, I'm not trying to build a bomb here. Why can't you answer my question? It's They need to just use it. They need to literally try it out. And my recommendation for business owners, we all have emails that we need to write that we know we need to maybe put some boundaries in place. We need to set it up right. We need to be kind. We can't tell the client to go take a hike like we want, but we need to do this. Have AI do that. I can literally go to AI and say, you know what? I need to send Laura Lynn an email. I need to create a couple boundaries because there's been a misunderstanding. I need to let her know I value her as a client, but I also need to let her know if we're going to work together going forward, this is what it needs to look like. And AI will write a better email than I could do in 3 hours, and it'll do it in 2 minutes.
Oh, that is the number one use that I have for the AI tools because you don't want to get into hot water, right? It's really easy to say something you don't mean to say, and then you can't unsay it, right? It's an email,
Exactly.
it's there, it's like, oh, all of the nonsense, all of the stuff, right? It just, yeah, it gets to be very heavy-handed sometimes.
Yes, it does.
So talk to folks now as we're getting close here to the end of our podcast. I want to be mindful of your time, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Where folks can find you on YouTube. Well, I know, but I want other folks to know where they can and how they can get access to all the incredible, as I said, body of work that you have out there, providing enormous value to small business owners, neophytes, and really savvy AI folks about what to do and how to do it better. I mean, you've given us tons of suggestions here already, and I've learned a lot already. Where can people find you?
Well, thank you for the kind words. Just remember my name, Jonathan Mast. You can go to jonathanmast.com. You can connect with me. I've got tons of free resources. I've got some paid ones too, but there's tons of free stuff out there. I'm on virtually every social media platform that's out there. And if you forget my name, just remember I'm the white bearded guy with AI. And if you do a search for white beard guy and AI, I'm going to pop up. You can go ahead and find me there. And again, yeah, tons of free resources. My goal is, as we shared getting into the call, Laura Lynn, I want to add value. I want to help people know that they can leverage AI to save time, to make more money, to deliver more value. And it's an incredible tool that can amplify their skill and experience if they just embrace it.
I thank you for that. And I want to thank you for being who you are because in this world of me, right? Everybody's so out to move their own agenda forward. Many people are reluctant to share content, share ideas, share things that might, heaven forbid, help their competitors move forward, right? The reality is it's all out there. Anybody can look at anything and find a
Yes.
way to, right, build the better mousetrap. It's been the, I guess, the foundation
Yes.
for business for a long time, right? Faster, better, cheaper, right?
Exactly.
Those are the three axes that you go on. And so
Hmm.
when people take time like yourself to create all that content, as I said, and it's enormous, I don't even know, probably I wouldn't even want to guess how many gigabytes, terabytes it is of videos that you've got out there. Take a look, folks. Jonathan Mast can really help you out. You can learn some things. And last question here, it's our signature question of the podcast. If we looked into your closet, now this is something AI cannot answer. Well, maybe it could. But anyway, if we looked into your closet and there was a pair of footwear, shoes, boots, whatever, that embodies you, Jonathan Mast, your personality, personifies who you are and how you project to the world, what are we looking at in your closet? Which shoes?
Well, I don't have a lot of shoes because I'm not a shoe fan, but I am a hat fan, and I have way too many hats. Let's just put it that way. But the one I'm wearing today, I think probably really is the personification, and I don't know if you guys can see that, but it is very simple. That is how I look at life, and I believe that choosing to look at life through that filter, by the way, if you're listening and not watching, that is the future is bright. I am, you people, aren't you scared of AI? No, I trust the human race. Aren't you afraid people are going to use it for bad stuff? Yeah, they are. Whether I'm afraid of it or not, it's going to happen. But I trust in human beings. I think people overall are good. Are there some bad people? Yep, but that's the exception, not the rule. And I believe that as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, it's our obligation to lead. And I believe the best way to lead is to believe that the future is bright and then make it so.
Ah, nothing further to add. Jonathan Mast, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
And how about that fantastic intro by Touch Circle?